A man casually tossed a cigarette butt. The lawn on the ground suddenly dodged as if it were alive. Tom looked shocked. He quickly stepped forward and touched the soil on the ground, but he found that the soil seemed a bit too smooth. So he grabbed a pickaxe and dug up the soil. It only made his scalp tingle even more. This so-called soil turned out to be a piece of yellow Play-Doh. Tom immediately called his girlfriend over to dig with him to see what was hidden underneath. But as time ticked by minute, they dug until their hands were about to break, yet still found nothing. Just as Amy was about to give up, a piercing sound suddenly came from the sky. Tom quickly grabbed a ladder and climbed up to the roof to look. The sight in front of him instantly stunned him. Dense rows of identical houses stretched out ahead, stretching as far as the eye could see with no end in sight. This eerie scene sent a chill of fear down Tom's spine. Could this be an alien farm? Just a few weeks ago, Tom brought his girlfriend to the sales office. They wanted to buy a cozy little home. The salesman Martin was very enthusiastic and professional. He was all sweet talk, spinning Tom's head around. Amy also had her doubts, feeling that if she didn't buy their house, she would regret it for the rest of her life. So they followed Martin to Happy Community. But soon, Tom noticed something weird. The huge neighborhood didn't have a single person in sight, and every single house here looked exactly the same. But he didn't think much of it. Maybe it was just a newly built neighborhood. The two followed Martin to Villa number 9. The room had all kinds of amenities. The decoration was also very elegant. There was even a small courtyard outside. And the price was really cheap. It wouldn't be too much to say this was the most perfect house in the world. But just as they were about to sign the contract, they found Martin was gone. Even his car had vanished into thin air. Tom felt a sense of unease. He immediately took his girlfriend and tried to leave the neighborhood. However, things weren't that simple. The two never thought in their entire lives that they would get lost in a neighborhood. No matter which direction they took to leave, they always ended up back at Villa number 9. Tom impatiently started blaming his girlfriend, saying it was her driving skills that were the problem. Amy was helpless and had to let him take the wheel. But the result was still the same. The sun had set, and they still couldn't leave the neighborhood. Tom had already lost count of how many laps they had made. To make things worse, the car was almost out of gas. When the car stopped, they happened to be back at Villa number 9 again. Amy got out and shouted, trying to find anyone else, but only her own echo responded. At this moment, the two were mentally and physically exhausted. Resigned to their fate, they had no choice but to enter Villa number 9 to rest. After a quick search, Tom found a bag of strawberries and a bottle of champagne in the fridge. For the two starving people, even if the strawberries were poisoned, they had to force themselves to eat them. But after taking a bite, Amy was surprised to find that the strawberries had absolutely no taste, as if she were chewing on solidified air. Although a bit taken aback, they didn't make a big deal out of it, as if they had grown numb to such bizarre occurrences. And so, with their own thoughts weighing on them, the two fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Tom couldn't wait to take his girlfriend out to look for a way out. Even though the car had run out of gas, they still had their legs. Tom firmly believed that as long as they kept moving in one direction, without giving up, they would surely find an exit leading to freedom. However, reality quickly poured cold water on them, just like last time. By the time the sun was about to set, they were still wandering around the neighborhood. Just as Amy was in despair, she suddenly noticed lights on in a house ahead. Thinking they had finally found someone else living here, the two excitedly rushed into the room, only to find that it was still Villa number 9. And not only that, there was a box sitting on the road outside the villa. When they opened it, it was filled with daily supplies. Amy instinctively turned to look around, trying to find who left the box. Tom, on the other hand, went even further. He used a lighter and paper to set the curtains on fire, hoping the flames would catch the attention of a passing plane, and maybe even force whoever was behind this to show up. But after a long while, nothing happened. No plane appeared, and nobody showed up. Eventually, the house was consumed by the fire. Amy and Tom could only huddle together by the roadside, getting through this sleepless night. The next morning, Amy woke up first. She noticed another box on the road. This time, it wasn't supplies inside, but a newborn baby boy. There was a note on top, "Raise the kid, and we'll let you go." At that moment, Tom seemed to realize something. He turned to look, and saw that the number 9 villa, which had been burned to ruins, was now standing there completely intact again. The already broken couple felt even more hopeless. They decided to just raise the child obediently, hoping the mysterious person would keep their promise and let them go. But this kid wasn't normal either. In just 2 weeks, he grew to look about 10 years old. His behavior was also very strange. He would often mimic the couple's conversations for no reason, and frequently stayed up late sneaking peeks at Amy's private life. What was even more annoying was that, at mealtime, the boy would let out piercing screams and wouldn't calm down until Amy met his demands. Tom realized that if this kept up, they would definitely break down first. They had to find a way out, so he put all the household trash into a box. Then he placed the box on the road. Based on past experience, someone would come to collect the trash the next day, and then swap it with a box full of supplies. So Tom decided to sit outside and keep watch. If he could catch that person, they could leave this neighborhood. But he only looked away for a moment, and the trash box on the road had already disappeared. Amy was completely disappointed and could only return to the villa dejectedly. Tom lit a cigarette in frustration too. Then came the scene from the beginning. After the man finished smoking, he threw away the butt and noticed the lawn spreading rapidly. Then Tom took out his tools and started digging. He believed there must be a tunnel hidden underground to leave the neighborhood. And so, aside from eating and sleeping every day, Tom spent the rest of his time digging holes. After almost exhausting himself to the point of collapse, Tom would sit down and rest for a minute or two. But as the hole got deeper and deeper, Tom's health also got worse and worse. Amy felt sorry for him, but didn't stop him. After all, it was their last hope to get out. Meanwhile, late at night, the boy quietly came to the living room and turned on the TV. This makes one curious. What exactly would this weird kid watch? As the screen lit up in an instant, a bunch of strange symbols and lines appeared before his eyes. Any normal person would immediately feel dizzy and lightheaded looking at it, but the boy watched with intense focus, as if absorbing some mysterious knowledge. Master Tang, exhausted from a long day, had just laid down when the TV noise woke him up. Seeing this eerie scene, a surge of anger and disgust rose in Tom's heart. The next morning, the boy's screams pushed him over the edge completely. So, ignoring Amy's pleas, he forcibly carried the boy and locked him in the car. It seemed like this was an act of anger from Tom, but in reality, he was trying to use this to force the mysterious man, Tom, to come out. He believed he would never just let the boy starve to death. But unexpectedly, Amy suddenly had a surge of maternal instinct, and while her boyfriend wasn't paying attention, grabbed the keys. Then, quickly rescued the boy. Tom stood behind her, without stopping her. Amy's action chilled him to the bone. It seemed like a rift had formed between them at that moment. From that day on, Tom was like a man possessed, not even coming home every day. When tired, he'd just sleep in the hole, and when he woke up, he'd pick up the shovel and start digging. It was as if the hole was his home. Now, meanwhile, Amy continued taking good care of the boy every day. She still believed that if she raised the child, she could leave. The next morning, Amy woke up and found the boy was gone. She was a bit curious about where the boy had gone, so Amy began searching the neighborhood, but still couldn't find a trace of the child. It wasn't until the sun had set that Amy found the boy standing at the villa door with a book in his hand. He opened the book and looked inside. It was filled with symbols and lines he couldn't understand. When he asked the boy where the book came from, he just smiled and said it was a secret. Seeing this, Amy seemed to have an idea. He quickly got up, turned off the TV, and proposed playing a game with the boy, asking him to mimic his and Tom's behaviors and speech. The boy immediately perked up and started vividly imitating the two. During the process, Amy kept clapping and praising the boy. When he saw the boy was fully immersed in the game, Amy revealed his true intention.
Is there anyone else you can be? Someone you met today? Pretend to be that person.
Are you overwhelmed again, Mother? I am not your mother. Are you overwhelmed?
Since that night, Amy has been living in fear and dread every day. And just like that, 3 months passed in the blink of an eye, and the boy had grown into a man's form. Amy gradually began to suspect his identity. Maybe he wasn't human, but a puppet controlled by some mysterious force. Amy couldn't help but regret. If he hadn't stopped Tom back then, they might have already left the neighborhood without having to serve this monster in human skin. During this time, Tom didn't slack off on his work either. The hole he had dug was now bottomless, but there was still no sign of a way out. Instead, he was getting weaker and weaker. He even needed his girlfriend's help to take a shower. To ease Tom's burden, Amy decided to secretly follow the boy, to see where he went with that book every day. But the boy moved as if his feet were on fire, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Amy rushed around frantically, but still lost sight of him. Meanwhile, after 3 months of relentless effort, Tom finally found something. It seemed like he dug up something. Filled with excitement, he quickly dug through the dirt with both hands and feet, only to discover that what lay before him was a human face. Tom was so scared, he almost lost control of his bladder. He wanted to tell Amy about it, but just a few steps later, he uncontrollably collapsed by the side of the road. Tom realized his body had reached its limit, and he might not have much longer to live. At that moment, Amy happened to return to the villa. Seeing how weak her boyfriend looked, she felt so sorry for him, and planned to take him back to the room to rest. But Amy never expected that the boy had locked the villa door from the inside. No matter how much she begged, the boy just wouldn't budge and showed no sign of opening the door. With no other option, the two had to spend the night in the car, but sleep couldn't relieve Tom's condition at all. Instead, it got worse and worse. Amy asked the boy for help again, but was coldly rejected.
Please, you can't leave him this way.
Maybe it's time he was released.
Watching the boy walk away, Amy was completely disheartened. She held her boyfriend in her arms and slowly began telling the story of how they first met. Tom passed away, in Amy's gentle whispers. Even though she had already mentally prepared herself, Amy couldn't help but break down crying. Soon after, the boy returned to the villa carrying a box. Amy thought it was food, but when she opened it, there was a body bag inside. Her emotions, which had just started to recover, began to collapse again. The boy ignored the crying beside him and just put Tom into the body bag without a word. Then, with a swing of his hand, he tossed the body straight into the pit. It was ironic, to say the least. Tom had always believed there was a way out underground. Now, this situation kind of proved his theory. Early the next morning, Amy secretly hid in the car without the boy noticing. She decided to avenge her boyfriend. Even if she could never leave, it didn't matter. Taking advantage of the boy being distracted, Amy swung a hoe directly at him. Faced with the sudden attack, the boy panicked. After barely dodging one strike, he quickly crawled toward the roadside. Then he actually lifted a tile and crawled inside. Although shocked, Amy followed right behind. She tumbled all the way down into a blood-red room. Inside, there was also a boy watching that creepy TV. Dazed, Amy opened the door and walked into the living room. She found a woman crying. She instantly thought of herself. It was almost exactly the same situation she had gone through. Before she could react, the floor beneath her suddenly turned into quicksand. It kept pulling her through rooms on different floors, without any surprise. The same scene was playing out in every single room. Soon, Amy descended to the very bottom. It was Villa number 9, the one she knew best. Looking at the familiar scene before her, Amy's heart completely shattered. She let out a scream and collapsed to the ground. A few minutes later, that creepy boy appeared again. His entire body showed no signs of injury. Although Amy wasn't completely dead yet, he still stuffed her into a body bag, like throwing away a piece of trash. He casually tossed it into the pit Tom had dug. I believe at that moment, there was no fear or terror in Amy's heart. All she felt was a sense of relief. Soon, the boy filled in the pit, as if nothing had ever happened. He got in the car and drove all the way to the sales office on the outskirts. By now, Martin was old and wrinkled beyond recognition. His hair had turned completely white. Seeing the boy approach, Martin used his last bit of strength to pull off his name tag. The boy took it and pinned it on himself. Then he pulled a body bag out of the drawer and stuffed old Martin inside it. Then he folded it into a ball and sealed it with a receipt. He placed it into the drawer beside him. From then on, the boy became the new Martin. Here, he would welcome his very first customer. It just so happened to be another young couple.